Hey guys, Miss Arden here. I wanted to talk through days 13, 14, and 15 with you. So, for the first couple days of this week, you read an article about Mexican Americans and their contributions to the Civil War. That article's at the end of this packet, the AMI packet, but I also have it linked on Classroom for you, right? The Continental U.S. Civil War forced Mexican Americans to take sides. So, you had to answer questions about this article on Monday and on Tuesday. Now you're going to have to take it a little bit deeper. So you may have to go back and reread the article, listen to it again if you want to, but make sure you're familiar with the article because you're going to need it for what you're doing today. So our assignment for today says, imagine that you have been asked to teach second graders about the role of Mexican Americans in the Civil War. How would you explain it to them? Create a brief children's picture storybook that explains how Mexican Americans contributed to the Civil War. Draw illustrations to support your story or use images from the internet. You have 3 days to complete this project. So it's okay for you to wait until Friday or whenever to actually submit this to me because you have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to work on this. This is 3 days worth of work, which means it's a much deeper project than just answering a question. So the AMI packet gives you a possible outline here that you could use if you were to do it on paper. And if you want to do it on paper and do it on pages and then send me a picture of it, that is absolutely fine. However, since we have a lot of technology at our hands, and if you have the ability to get to technology, I want to show you this really cool website where you can create something that's kind of fun to play with. So it's this website that's linked in Classroom that's called Storyboard That. So I'm going to show you an example that I created that goes off of westward expansion. Westward expansion is the last big kind of topic we were able to completely cover before the coronavirus hit and we got kicked out of our schools. But this is a topic. So this is a storyboard that I made this morning that teaches westward expansion, right? So all of this I did, and you're going to do the same thing with 6 tiles or 6 squares. You're going to be responsible for filling in the backgrounds, for picking the people, deciding what they wear, what they look like, the color of their skin, color of their hair, the text boxes, all the extra stuff like the wagons and the snakes and Native Americans and gold, all of that stuff. So this older man says, "Go west, young man." And the younger guy says, "Why would anyone want to move west?" So this is like my introduction to the westward expansion, right? Why would anyone want to move west? So the older man says, "Manifest destiny, my boy. It is our mission to expand and spread democracy and freedom from ocean to ocean." And the young man says, "But don't natives already live on that land?" And he said, "Oh, don't you worry about them." And there they are in the background looking like they are concerned. Okay. So there's one reason someone would want to move west. "The Oregon Trail makes it easy to start a new life out west, as long as you can survive the trip." And he's on his wagon ready to go out on the Oregon Trail. And the young man says, "What do you mean, if I survive?" And you've got a bear and snake, things like that. Another thing about westward expansion, right, was the gold rush. So the old man says, "There's also the gold rush. Gold was discovered in California in 1848, and now everyone has a chance to strike it rich." And the young man says, "But how would I even get to California?" And so when you see the guys that are sitting down or sitting here, I'm going to show you how to do that in Storyboard in just a second. You get to kind of move and change your characters around. But as a response of how do I even get to California, the older man says, "The Transcontinental Railroad, my boy. With the last spike, the U.S. is now connected. You can travel across the U.S. in 4 or 5 days." And he says, "Now you're talking, as long as thieves don't attack." And then this last tile or this last slide or square is kind of summing it up, the conclusion. So our young man says, "Maybe that old man is right. There seem to be a lot of good reasons to head west in this time. Now I just have to convince my family." So this is an example. I'm going to post this on Classroom so you can kind of look at it, get an idea of how you can have a couple different people kind of talking back and forth. But let me show you how this website works. So you'll go to Storyboard That, the link I've got on Classroom for you, and you may have to create an account and click create my storyboard or create a storyboard. Now I want to point something out. It only lets you create 2 storyboards a week. So if you want to make changes or anything like that, make sure you continually edit the same storyboard, because if you just keep making new storyboards, it won't let you do it anymore, and then you'll kind of like not have anything to be able to work on, okay? But once you hit create my storyboard, it will start off like this with 3 squares. But we want it to have 4 squares. So the very first thing we're going to do is hit this add or delete cells, and we're going to make it go to 3 times 2, right? which means 6, okay? 6 squares. So now this is the part where you get to kind of play around with it and get used to it and figure out how it works. Everything up here under scenes are all the backgrounds, okay? So we've got U.S. history backgrounds, we've got historical backgrounds. Since we're talking about the Civil War, and you can always slide this over and there's way more there too. Since we're talking about the Civil War, you might have some that are out in lots in front of buildings or inside barracks or anything like that, right? Inside the where they're sleeping or by the beds and stuff. Or you might have some that are outdoors, right? If they're out fighting on fields or anything like that, you might have something like this. And you just drag it and pull it down if that's the one that you want to use, okay? So don't stress too much about getting them perfect because it kind of pops where you'd want it, where you'd need it, okay? You get to kind of choose. So once you've got your backgrounds chosen, and you can kind of do them as you go, you don't have to get them all done at once, but once you've got your background chosen, then you get to choose your people. So you'll click on characters up here, and the really cool thing about this is there's all these different characters, or you can click on this tab right here that says 1600s to 1800s, and there are actually Civil War soldiers here. So if you scroll all the way over, let's see where, here they are, the blue and the gray. The ones with the fancier hats are the officers, and the ones that are in the blue, right? And the ones that have kind of the normal-looking uniforms are going to be the normal guys, okay? So, there's a drummer boy. Sure. Let's have this guy. So, you have a lot of options. If you're like, man, I really didn't mean to add that guy, this little X will delete anything. It'll delete backgrounds. But if you accidentally delete something, you're like, I didn't mean to delete that, there's an undo button, okay, which is pretty nice. So once you've got your person, you can change everything about them. You can change their hair color, you can change their skin color, you can change their eye color, their uniform. You might want to leave their uniforms alone since they're already Civil War uniforms, but you can change everything about them, okay? You can make them move, you can make them sit, you can make them face different directions. And by doing that, you hit this edit pose button. So you can tilt their head one direction or the other. You can give them a mustache or beard if you want. You can change their facial expressions if they're upset or if they're happy. You can change their arms if you want them to hold something or to look like they're mad. If you want them to be sitting, like you saw in my example, that he was sitting on a wagon at one point, he was kneeling at the river at one point, you can change all of that stuff here. If you want them to be sideways, you can change it sideways. When you do that, he's facing the wrong direction. There's this little rotate button. You can rotate them all sorts of ways, okay? And once you've got your person made, if these two are going to be your characters throughout the whole storyboard, you do not have to completely remake them over and over again. You can hit the click on him, and then this little edit button lets you make copies, which is really nice. So you can actually move him over, size him. You can make a whole army of them if you wanted to continually hit that button. And then you can change this one to edit him if you wanted him to be sitting on something, right? If you wanted him sitting in a chair or whatever, okay? And the thing is that you've got all these people, and then you also have a search bar up here for items. Don't upgrade, you don't need to upgrade. For items. So if I wanted him to be seated in a chair, I type in the word chair, and there's quite a few to choose from here. I just want a normal one. Okay, but that's facing the wrong direction. So I'm gonna hit the rotate button, set it right here, click on him, bring him to the front, and you've got him sitting on a chair, okay? If you want them to be talking to each other, you can do up here the textables. You can pick whichever textable you want, click it next to him, and then you can type whatever you want to say right in the text box, okay? It's pretty cool. So there are not a whole lot of things in the search bar, but if you want a gun because they're going to be fighting because they're soldiers, you can do that. It's facing the wrong way. It's way too big, but it's also facing the wrong way, right? So I'm going to hit the rotate button, and you can change his arms to make him hold it a little better. You can do all sorts of stuff. So how I suggest doing this is in your first cell of your storyboard, because remember, the whole point of this is like a children's story for second graders. So in the first cell, in the first square, I'm going to suggest that you introduce the topic, okay? That's where you're going to have something about Mexican Americans' role in the Civil War, okay? And then in the next 4 boxes, so box 2, 3, 4, and 5, you need to talk about the contributions of Mexican Americans to the Civil War. What role did Mexican Americans play in the Civil War? So you can give me one here, one here, one here, and one here. So that's 4 different roles or important reasons that there are important facts about Mexican Americans in the Civil War, contributions that they made. And then the last square should be like your conclusion, the last page of your children's book, the last thing you want to say about Mexican American role in the Civil War. Okay, you've got a lot here to play with. It's going to take you some time to kind of get to know the equipment, the software, this website a little bit. But I do want to tell you one thing. Make sure you save it and save it often. The first time you save it, you're going to have to create a name for it. Please put your name in the title so that I can get it, okay? So that I see who it is. So put your name in the title. And then once you're finished, you can save and exit. I'll show you how this works. And there's a really kind of easy way to send it to me. Maybe. Okay, so right here. So mine be completely done, right? I've already saved it and I put that as the title. If you want to just put your full name as the title and send it to your teacher, that is completely fine. But I titled it Zarden, my name, with Mexican Americans in the Civil War. That's the name of the storyboard. That's a really good specific name, okay? Now, in order to send it, how you're going to do it is you are going to, you're going to copy and paste the actual link up here, okay? The link that you see on this website is the link that you're going to copy and paste to me in an email so that I can get it, okay? If you send me this, I can open it and I can see it. If for any reason I can't, I want you to check your email, okay? So I'll let you know by email, but that should be it. If you're stuck on anything, if you don't understand how to do something, how to find something for your storyboard, please send me an email. I'm happy to help you. I know this website pretty well. If you're more comfortable doing it on paper, you're welcome to do that, but you need to send me a picture of it through email. But have fun, enjoy. This is a pretty fun little activity to do. So let me know if you have any questions or are struggling. See you guys.